Welcome to Bits About Books, the home for conversations with authors of breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. Founders, entrepreneurs, and individual professionals, we all need to keep track of ideas that are helping create our today and tomorrow. Bits About Books will strive to find those books and speak to their authors, go behind the scenes and understand what inspired the authors to write the books that they did and how they went about doing so. Through our conversations, we hope to gain insights that will help us to get the most out of our efforts. I'm your host Shubhanjan Sarkar, founder of PitchLink, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform where our mission is to make buying easy. Welcome to Bits About Books. Thank you for your time and for joining us in this session. I have a favor to ask. While you continue to listen to the podcast, please leave a comment or rating at iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts from. I personally look at each comment and will give you a shout out to each of you in our following episodes. It means a lot to hear from you. Our guest today is Amit Agarwal, author of the book Small is Big, the source code for fulfillment, productivity, and extraordinary results.
So what I've observed is this concept of small is profound. And if people do not focus on smaller things, it's like cooking a very nice dish without having salt. So you cook a dish, you say all these things, but you don't put salt or you don't put an ingredient. How will the dish will be nice? So therefore, the reason I wrote the book and the reason why it is divided into three books. In fact, many more books can come out of it because the power of small in everything. So that is I am now calling myself Small is Big Evangelist. You focus on small in every aspect.
Amit Agarwal, author, Salespreneur, Small is Big Evangelist. An IIT-IIM alumnus, Amit has coined the term Salespreneur, created a sales strategy use case selling, and has professional selling experience in 23 countries across bootstrapped, Series A, B, C, and D startups. Amit aims to harness and evangelize 4 life skills: sales, mindfulness, nutritional diet, and personal finance. He believes that incremental progress in harnessing these life skills helps us balance material accomplishments and spiritual growth. Amit's 2 books, The Ultimate Sales Accelerator and Small is Big, are steps in this journey of evangelizing the 4 life skills and balancing spirit and matter. Now, on to this insightful episode with Amit Agarwal. Amit, welcome to the show. I am delighted to have you back. This is by no means our second conversation. We have had multiple conversations in between. And I'm so happy to see your second book out. Welcome.
Thank you, Shubhanjan. Always a pleasure to catch up with you. And this is just one more mechanism of catching up and learning together.
Absolutely. So, we spoke about your first book, and your first book was very unique in many ways. So is this, by the way. I mean, I find it extremely fascinating, to put it mildly, that you try to blend life and business together. And that's what our first conversation was about when we spoke about your first book, that it's very difficult to actually compartmentalize it completely. You do carry the person who is living life into the business role as well. So and it's quite unique. I mean, I think you bring in a unique perspective to your topics. When did you decide to write Small is Big?
Yes, so thanks for the kind words, Shubhanjan. And as you rightly said, life and business are 2 tenets of a human being. Sometimes we try to separate them out. However, as you said, that a person who is in life is also going to business and vice versa. So they go together. So now coming to your question, when do I decide to write about this book? So I think, the first is that, as I've written in the book, that experience of writing this in my mind, that seed, that was sown during a meditation experience in January first week of 2018, where in very simple and short term, I was about to do an exercise which was very painful to such an extent that you can compare it with wisdom toothache, or you can compare with kidney stone pain or any high intensity pain. That was part of a 4-day meditation retreat. Now, since I had done that course, I was aware that this is very painful. What to do? So at that point of time, I asked a question to universe, what can I do to decrease the discomfort associated with this 20-minute exercise and increase my commitment towards it? And the answer came that quickly, they divide these 20 minutes into 1 minute each and only focus on 1 minute. So then I started focusing, whatever that exercise was, as a painful exercise, started focusing only on 1 minute. And then the 1 minute is complete, I will feel good, and then I will start again 1 minute. I was not thinking about 20 minutes, only 1 minute. And there was a teacher, who was guiding us, during that exercise. So what happened was something magical, that my pain decreased significantly because I was only focusing on 1 minute. As I was completing 1 minute, my confidence increased. So this was kind of a chain reaction which was created by after 20 minutes, I was normal. During this exercise, normally people actually shout, chant, cry, although it is a silence course, they do that because in order to express their pain. I was perhaps one of the only person who didn't do that because I was focusing only on 1 minute. So at that very moment when I finished the exercise, I just took some rest, and when I woke up, I wrote on a small piece of paper, small is big. So that was 2018 January. So at that point of time, the seed was sown, However, as you are aware, my first book was The Ultimate Sales Accelerator, which was released in July of 2019, So now once that book started, 6 months passed, I think it was around December in 2019. At that point of time, a thought came that if I have to write my second book, what will it be? So the three topics, while I was reflecting on many, but the three topics which came, one was on storytelling. The other was on emotional quotient in sales, because in my mind, that is a topic which is highly not taken care of. And the third thing was small is big, which, as you recall, was the seed was in January 2018. Now, embracing discomfort is a skill. So I was decently more comfortable with storytelling as well as with emotional quotient. But small is big was an abstract idea. At that point of time, it was an abstract idea. It was just one inspiration which came. So what I did is I asked my two sons, in the morning, and I said, these are the topics. What do you suggest? And I have this tendency of talking to my family. And my younger one immediately said, Daddy, you have to write small is big. So I was both happy as well as little afraid, Okay. And then my elder one, after some time, said, Daddy, among the three, this is the one. And later I checked with my wife also. She also said. So at that point of time, in around December of 2019, I made up my mind that I will write on this. So on small is big. Now after that, the thing was, what did I do to from then onwards? So one of the things which I did is, which helped me tremendously, that from December 2019, I started observing small in everything I see, whether it is business. So if I do sale, what is the element of small there? Okay. If it is life, if I am talking to somebody, or if I am doing some habits, I will observe that. So, and what I do, this observation, I was putting in this that notes application in my phone. So if you notice the book is filled with stories or rather than experiences, because experiences are the truth. So, and how can a person remember so many things? So the answer lies in the power of phone app, because that notes app, what I was doing is, the moment an experience will come, I will immediately write it in rough words. So that was from December of 2019 to June of 2020. That is what I was doing. So the app that notes would have got longer. Whatever idea will come, reflection will come, I will write. Experiences will come, I will write. And so, and then onwards, the actual writing, started from July and then continued till March of 2021. And in April, I submitted the manuscript to Penguin, and the book got released in January of 2022.
Right.
So that has been the...
Right. Interesting. So you are referring to, of course,
works of James Clear. He wrote a book on, atomic habits and so on and so forth. You're referring to some interesting experiments in Japan and so on and so forth.
Yes.
What was your
Yes.
research process after see, the notes bit I understand. So whatever is going on, you are keeping, or somebody is telling you something, you are seeing something, so you are making notes of those. So, but that
Yes.
necessarily does not make the book. You had to
Of
deliberately
course.
go and do some research, right? So what was that process
Yes.
like?
Yeah, no, very nicely said. As written in the back cover of the book, using extensive research and life experiences. So both. So life experiences, as you noticed, was as they were coming, they were in that notes. And the research part, what I did is before going to research, in July of, and this I think is very important. One of the tools which I mentioned in the out of the 7 productivity tools in the book is mind maps. So if you notice, I've given 2 examples of my own mind maps in the book directly, but the mind map which actually resulted in the book was created in July of 2020, where what I did is that I first created a mind map, because mind map is a wonderful tool to bring 2 things, creativity and structure. So if you look at the 3 parts of the book, which is life, business, and productivity, they were 3 arms which were coming in that mind map. I still have that in my paper because I hand drew. And then all the chapters associated with it, or the topics, let me call topics at that point of time. I wrote topics, what will I do in life? What will I do in business? What will I? So that mind map, was the first, you can say, first blueprint of what the book will cover.
Right.
Now, once that was done, for each of the thing, what I will do is I will combine them into experiences. Let's say, let's take an example of micro habits. So a micro habit is a chapter. So the way I write is that authenticity comes from your own experience.
True.
Because if you have not lived it yourself, what you can share with others. So one is that experiential wisdom, my own experience, somebody else's experience, and the third part, which is research. So what I will do in research part is, let's say, for example, this micro habits. One of the things which really connected with me is the concept of domino effect, which has been there in my mind for quite some time, where you line up dominoes and you pat one, and then all the other, go down, one after the. So I started researching on it, and I think I found one of the Steve Morris video where he lines up 13 dominoes, and he's a I think a scientist, and each domino is 1.5 times longer than the other. So the 13th domino is around a meter long, and the smallest domino is just a millimeter, 1 millimeter by 4 millimeter, very small. And then he just taps that first domino, and that 13th domino, such big one, falls down. And he says that if he would have done 28 or 29 dominoes, that would have been the size of Empire State Building. And then he explains in that video that the energy which is generated on the 13th domino is actually 2 billion times of the first domino.
Right.
Okay. Now, my thought process was, any topic which I choose, any topic which, like, this was one topic. The other topic was, let's say, the power of the small wins, small goals. So when I was researching, I found HBR article, a lot of research in HBR, where they say that what motivates an employee. And the research, surprisingly, people will say recognition or incentives. That were the choices were given. However, the answer which came through research was support in progress. And my thing was, support in progress is about making incremental progress, which is meaning focusing on small rather than big. Correct? So my thought process is very simple, that any topic which I will choose, experiences are mine and others. Research also has to be there. So for that, what I will do is, in the morning, 2 hours, and this book is written, in fact, that is one reason why this book could be written during pandemic, is that 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. 2 hours, I will only write the book and research. So because of this dedicated time, and sometimes one topic research might take, 1 week, 2 weeks, like this domino effect video, or how to explain the power of small in terms of goals. Correct? Now, giving examples is good, but how do you back it by research? So I think what helped me is first of the mindset that both experiences or research have to be there, and it has to be there for each topic.
Right.
And then the second thing which helped me is the execution of it in terms of dividing 2 hours of time every morning from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. This was the time, because see, when you research, you are also reading, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I generally read a lot in the morning, but during that time I was not reading a book.
Right.
I was, reading content which can help me in the research. So it was a very enjoyable experience the moment I structured in these two manner.
Wonderful. So let's move on to the book. I mean, you created this mind map, and you were clear in the beginning that you are going to divide it between life, business, and productivity. How did productivity come in? Is it because you thought that tools are required to help people focus on the micro?
I think to some extent what you are saying correct. But the real inspiration came from my own experience. So I have been a big, you can say, proponent, and the person who has implemented is. In fact, I used to call myself also as one thing evangelist, which came from the book The One Thing, and I've noticed that how it creates, of course, it impacts life, it impacts business, but how it creates productivity. Because if I'm going to a meeting with the CEO, let's say, just to give example, and it has happened that CEO will say, Amit, can you please put your laptop down? Whatever presentation was there, now it in the laptop sleeping, and he will say, can we talk about the three things, in your presentation? Just let's talk about three things, And then he will say, what is the one thing? I remember one CEO asking me that if you have to put $1, if you were given that power, you have to put $1 in one area in our business, where will you put? Okay. So what I have realized is that this tool, which I understood one thing, it has not only it impacts life and business, but it makes a person and the other people around him very productive, because you are cutting around the clutter. Right. So that is the reason. Also, as you rightly said, tools. So I am a person who is very focused on implementation, because see, knowledge is there. The problem is in implementation, correct? And also in the process of implementation. These are the two things. Everybody knows that waking up at 5 a.m. is good, but how many people implement it? Correct? So therefore, the third part of the book, which is after doing life and business, for me, getting it more tangible, which people can implement. And therefore, I also chose a number 7, because, 7 is a spiritual number also. You will have seen 7 spiritual laws or 7 C's. 7 is a number. So I could have done so many, but there is a reason why I chose 7. And because of, there is also a law called Miller's Law, which says that after 7, people don't remember. So because of that, I chose 7 productivity tools, and I hope they serve the readers.
Right. So let's go back to the beginning. You have this like mind map, and you're writing life and business and the productivity, the three chapters. So how is the life broken up? How did you break it up, and what do you say in that?
Yeah. Sure. So in life, it starts with first of my own experience of cracking IIT by focusing on small. So it starts with that while the seed was sown in 2018, as I reflected on my own life, way back in 1993 when I was preparing for IIT, and I came to know that if in order to get selected into IIT, you need only 100 out of 300. You don't need 200. So that one awareness, which I turned into execution in a city which had very few resources. I was based out of Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
Because of razor sharp focus on that, and doing what is meaningful and not doing what doesn't matter. Focusing only on one course, focusing on that number. Every time I have to get more than 100. So the book starts from there. Then the there are three important parts in the life section. One is thought. So power of a single thought. So what one single thought can do. So either a good thought or a bad thought, it creates a chain reaction. So it talks about that. Then I think micro habits, which I think is a profound chapter, because that is perhaps one of the most tangible things which people can implement, out of the book, micro habits. And then something which has not been written, law of resonance. This law of resonance I learned in my dream science and symbol interpretation, the 3-year course. So it is a very profound principle, and the way it is explained, it starts from a experiment, which is suppose you have these pendulums, and these pendulums, and 3 pendulum of different height, so let's say, just for example, let's say 1 feet, let's say 8 inches and 6 inches, and then the similar identical pendulums on the right hand side of the same
size,
and then the same size, So, and when let's say the 1 feet pendulum is, moved, what happens is that the pendulum which is identical to it, so there are 5 more pendulums around it, but the only pendulum which is identical to it moves. The vibrations are created only in the identical pendulum. So this is a physics experiment which was done. And this same thing, law of resonance, say that as human beings, just like that experiment, pendulum is based out of electrons, neutrons, protons, we human beings are nothing but vibrations, So if either something good or bad is happening in our life, we are resonating to that frequency, So right. that law of resonance is quite profound. It builds on the life
Right.
part. Do you want to cover the other 2 parts also, or?
Yeah, sure. So that sort of builds up the narrative for the section on transforming life, right? This is the three
those
parts
are the
that.
3 things.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Thoughts, micro habits, law of resonance.
It's time for a short break. Stay with us. After the break.
So people talk about big things in our culture, but the book talks about how doing small things, in or creates culture. Then it talks about power of small wins, the small wins and small goals. Then it talks about how to create crisp presentation, 5 pointers, because presentations is part of business. Correct? So similarly, there are many other things like crafting your niche, because a lot of times in business we go this big, whereas everybody says niche, but what is your niche? So crafting your niche.
You are listening to a Business Podcast Network original. Podcasting is the fastest growing content marketing opportunity which is untapped. We can help you craft your audio strategy and help leverage the wide reach and easy streaming capability that the smartphone penetration provides. It is easy, it is powerful and personal. Talk to us to find out how podcasting can help you build your brand and reach out to your targets like never before. Write to us at bpn@bizcast.in. That is bpn@bizcast.in. Business Podcast Network. Podcasts end to end.
Welcome back. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host for Bits About Books and founder of PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. Let's dive right back into the episode where we left it. Micro habits seems to be the core of this whole idea, right? So, while thoughts, I understand the power of one thought, but end of the day, it looks like that micro habits is the crux. Is that how you look at it?
No, actually not at all. If it was micro habits, I would have not written the book, because therefore the reason is if you look at the title and subtitle, small is big, and the subtitle is chosen in a very profound manner. It says the source code. Source code. The word source code is very profound. It is not secret. It is source code for fulfillment, productivity, and extraordinary results. Because what I have started noticing that as I embrace small in everything, the idea. In fact, I could have written 3 books on it. As you notice, life, business, and productivity. Initially, that was the idea. But one of the element of small is big is brevity. One of the quality of small is big is brevity, and therefore I decided to choose 3 parts in one book. coming to it, this is not only about micro habits, as you will observe in the book. Like when it goes to the business section, it talks about from org culture. So people talk about big things in org culture, but the book talks about how doing small things, in org creates culture. Then it talks about power of small wins, the small wins and small goals. Then it talks about how to create crisp presentation, 5 pointers, because presentations is part of business. Correct?
Right.
So similarly, there are many other things like crafting your niche, because a lot of times in business we go this big, whereas everybody says niche, but what is your niche? So crafting your niche. So these are several things in business parts which are aligned with the power of small. In fact, I will surprise you by saying that there are certain things I couldn't write because, or I had written, but it is not in the book. For example, power of small in negotiation. It is very gently mentioned. So what I've observed is this concept of small is profound. In every principle, whether it is life or business, if we keep on repeating, like I'll give you an example. I'll not take names, but take an example on business. Our CEO says that, a true story, true experience, CEO said that, we have to, in the first quarter, we have to, do, let's say, 10 million of business. I'm changing numbers, and people are preparing for the pipeline review. Everything is there. However, when you look at the numbers, the pipeline is only 1.5x, so 15 million. Although in, let's say, complex sales, the pipeline has to be 4x, so which is, let's say, 40 million. So on paper, it is, on predictability point, it is not possible. So what do we do? So we'll talk this and that. However, if you start breaking that problem into small, so let's say we say out of that 10 million pipeline, we have 15 million pipeline we have, which are the large deals we have. And when we divide those large deals actually are 18% of the total pipeline, and the value is 60%. So basically that 15 million, 9 million is worth those few deals.
Right.
Now, so the problem is broken. Now, when you have broken this problem into small, so you only focus, if you focus, the organization focus on that, the probability of success is higher. And then you further break down, okay, these deals are there, but we are in pandemic. We are doing remote selling. Is it possible to do remote selling in complex B2B sales now? The answer is, if travel allows, it should be embraced. So for that, why don't you move people there? Rather than selling from here, why don't you move people physically there? Either transfer them or let them stay on a longer. So for me, these are smaller things. And if people do not focus on smaller things, it's like cooking a very nice dish without having salt. So you cook a dish, you say all these things, but you don't put salt or you don't put an ingredient. How will the dish will be nice? So therefore, the reason I wrote the book and the reason why it is divided into three books. In fact, many more books can come out of it because the power of small in everything. So that is I am now calling myself small is big evangelist. Correct? That you focus on small in every aspect. And there's a lot of work which has been done. The people say that, whether it is Mother Teresa or several people, they say that the true strength of a person lies in small. If you can't excel in small things, how can you excel in big things? So there is a lot of research and a lot of people have written. Only thing is, I think the way it is written in this context where the pervasiveness of small in life, business and productivity, that is something which personally I have not seen. As you rightly said, habits and all, it was written. Correct? But is it written in the context of pervasiveness of small in all contexts? That is something which I have tried to accomplish in this book, and I hope people implement it.
Wonderful. So let's get to the tools that you talk of and your 7 tools formula. So what are the tools that you are asking people to embrace?
Yeah, I think the tools in that book, it starts from the Pareto principle, then it goes to the three power of 3 rule, then it goes to the one thing, then it goes to Eisenhower matrix, mind maps, and I think there are two more. I don't remember them right now. But there are seven tools which are written. If you ask me if I have to share one of them, let me share Eisenhower matrix, which is fundamentally the president of USA, Mr. Eisenhower, who was a very busy man. He created Eisenhower matrix where he divided x-axis on in terms of urgency and y-axis in the term of importance. And he said low, high. So there are four quadrants. And then he said that basically anything which you do in life, whether it is personal finance or you can plan your work day, anything. This matrix can be used because what it does. Let me give example in each quadrant. So let's say what is urgent and important. So one example of that it would be doctor's appointment. Your health is not doctor. So something other important but not urgent. So that could be business reviews, the quarterly business reviews you are planning, or your family vacation, quarterly family vacation, which is important but not urgent. And then if you say urgent, not important, so you have to take a flight. Take a flight, but that is urgent. It can be delegated to somebody else. Also, you needn't do it. And the not urgent and not important, which is binge watching TV, let's say, or spending too much time on let's say social media, or in several other things like that. So what this tool, what it does is that you can use this structure for any. Let's say the structure could be planning your week, correct? It could be planning, best practices in sales in this quarter. If you use this structure, and then the next question is which quadrant is the most important. The answer will lie separately for each person.
Right.
Like for me, the most important quadrant is important but not urgent. Why?
Yes.
Because if I focus on important, things will not become urgent at all. It will not move to that quadrant.
Absolutely.
The same question, Shumanjan, I asked to my son, my elder son, while we were walking one day, and it's covered in the book. He said for him, the quadrant not urgent and not important is very important. I said, why, Tanish? He said, Daddy, if we eliminate those not urgent and not important tasks, we will have bandwidth for all other things. I said, wonderful. So it depends upon, so this is a very profound productivity tool, whether we are, whatever you are doing, if we are, let's say, doing pre-sales, if you use that structure, for a client demo, so I think that's the reason my personal focus in the book focuses on adoption and implementation,
Right.
And that's what, even through this session, what I'm trying to do is that if anything which resonates with the audience here, and it helps them in implementation. Right. So that's one of the tools. If you want me to cover one more, I am happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I mean, the point is that when you explain, it's always very, very engaging, and it will help our readers and our listeners get a sense of what they're getting into when they're reading your book. So yeah, sure, please go ahead.
So one tool which is actually, if I have to pick, I think one of my favorites is, and because I've implemented it tremendously, is checklist. Now, it is the most underrated productivity tool. So I'll give you an example in business and life both. So in business, what I do is we use a checklist. I've created my own, in sales, I've created my own checklist in terms of deal scoring. So each of my team member, they use, and we say that if the score is, it has around 9 to 12 points, that checklist, and we score, and it brings in two things. Checklists do two things. It brings in structure. It makes it easy for anybody to implement. And the third thing, it makes it predictable. Structure makes it simple and makes it predictable. So because of that deal scoring checklist in business context, now anybody is able to, whether it's a new person joining my team or a person who has been there for 2-3 years, they can score their deals and they can say that where they are. And we use a 85 out of 100. That means you are almost sales nirvana. 75 out of 100, you are on the right path. Below 75, don't even submit a proposal. Means you have to do sales work more. So
Right.
there is a structure which is given how to create those checklists, and then I'll give you an example of life. So I use 3-point checklist. So checklist needn't be always big. I mean, ideally it has to be in one page, that small, but it can be as smaller as three things. So what I do, a checklist for wellness in life. So I use 3 points which I ask daily. Number one, did I wake up at 5 a.m.? Number two, did I meditate for 30 minutes? Number three, did I express gratitude? These three things. And if I do, I've noticed, I ask these questions towards the evening, If I do these three things, which is I wake up at 5 a.m., I express gratitude. What happens is by doing these and I do meditation for 30 minutes, these three things, then the whole day is anyhow taken care of. So that is the power of checklist. Right from a 3-point checklist to 8 to 9 points. Idea being not more than a page.
Right.
Makes it easy, simple, structured, and predictable. So that is another checklist, and you can deploy it in any principle. As you read the book, you will find that it has been deployed by medical profession. It has been deployed, as I mentioned, in sales. In life, I gave some examples. In the book, I have given a checklist for two things. One is how to create powerful presentations. That is one checklist. There's another checklist on LinkedIn profile. So many people are LinkedIn. But I think there is a 7 or 8-point checklist. By just doing that, your LinkedIn profile can go to a next level. So that's
Right.
the power
Interesting.
of two of the tools.
Absolutely. This is great, and I really like one bit about the structure of your book, and you have given people a structure where they can go and actually think about what you are telling them, which means applying to yourself, and then implementing it. Because I think the crux of a book like this is in using the wisdom. It's not reading it and feeling good and then forgetting about it.
Precisely, absolutely, and to help that, very well said, Shumanjan. To help that, if you please open the book, you will observe there is every chapter has learning accelerator.
Yes.
In fact, a lot of readers who are giving reviews, they have said that the learning accelerator is helping them in implementation. These are small workbook style, simple, around 3 exercise, very simple tick marks, through which reflection and adoption is happening, and that is the whole idea of because wisdom, unless it is implemented, is no longer wisdom, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Bits About Books is brought to you by PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. PitchLink makes buying easy by enabling high-quality engagement between buyers and sellers through its presentation and discussion modules. Sellers create customized sales narratives using sales collaterals and personal videos and reach out to prospects through a non-intrusive, buyer-qualified engagement. PitchLink requires no installation or download and holds the entire repository of sales collaterals and buyer-seller conversations. Talk to us to know more about how you can engage with customers without intrusion. Call us on 99021 631 32.
Amit, as usual, thank you very much. This was entertaining, enlightening, and yes, it was great, and I look forward to talking with you sometime soon.
Thank you very much, Shumanjan. Always a pleasure. Thanks for hosting me, and I hope this is of service to the readers and to the listener of this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a fantastic lineup over the next couple of episodes with great conversations on breakthrough books with Julie Hansen, Andrea Walds, and Mike Kunkel about wonderful books they have written. Subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you do not miss a single episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for being with us today on Bits About Books, where we talk to authors about breakthrough books on sales, marketing, and business. We hope this conversation helped inform and motivate as we all navigate a rapidly changing business environment. For us, these are enlightening conversations enriched with knowledge and expertise. We encourage you to go out and buy the book to learn firsthand and implement some of the great ideas we discussed today. We hope to have you with us again in the next exciting episode of Bits About Books. If you liked what you heard, Subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast platforms like iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast from, and give us a rating while you are at it.
This Bizcast original podcast is produced for PitchLink, the next generation buyer-seller engagement platform, where the mission is to make buying easy. Hosted by Subhanjan Sarkar and produced by Rajiv Aditya. See you next time and have a wonderful day.